Hello everybody, it is me, Miss Marable. Hope you're having a lovely day so far. So this is your weekly SMSC mentor activity. Now, yesterday it was International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia and Transphobia. So I wanted to continue with our learning schedule, which was to continue learning about that. Now, I've stolen this PowerPoint. Don't worry, it is safe. I'm allowed to steal it from Diversity Role Models. I think it's a really, really good resource. So let's go through it. So first of all, we're going to play a little game of who is who. Now, these people may not correspond to the description of them below. I want you to think about who you think might be who. So if we look at the first person on the screen, so we've got person A is attracted to more than one gender, grows their own fruit and veg, and used to be a scientist. Do you think person A is the first person, the second person, or the third person? What about person B? Once made a dress out of bubble wrap, very nice, or maybe not, that's a little bit see-through, maybe not, speaks another language and is scared of pigeons. I used to be scared of pigeons. Which one could it be? And the last one, person C, plays bass in a rock band and used to play rugby, and they keep chickens. So let's find out who is who. Ta-da! So person A is this person here, person B, and then person C. Now think to yourself, did you get it right? Did you get it wrong? And what could we learn from this? Well, really the key learning point is that we all look a different way, and we can't jump to assumptions and conclusions about who people might be, what they might like, and what kind of person that they are. I love the phrase, you cannot judge a book by its cover, which basically means you can't judge anybody by the way that they look or the way they present themselves. Because when you start to actually talk to that person, get to know that person, you realise, oh, well, maybe I was wrong to have thought that you were a certain way. And that can sometimes lead to prejudice. Prejudice is when you have a prejudgment of somebody, and also can lead to stereotyping. Now, stereotyping is something that we do not like. Something within education that we're trying to kind of see past the stereotype. Especially, for our key groups of people. That could be relating to this week with regards to gay people or lesbian people or trans people, but even kind of moving away from sexuality and gender, if we think about religious groups, if we think about Muslims, or if we think about Sikhs, or if we think about Christians. So stereotypes are not a good thing, really, because it means you're judging someone before you get to know them. So this relates to the whole LGBT plus people that we're going to be exploring and learning about again. So let's just quickly remind ourselves. L is for lesbian, G, gay, B is bisexual, T is transgender, and I've also included heterosexual as well. So let's find out what each of these means. So lesbian is a woman who is attracted to other women. Gay is a man who's attracted to men, or a woman who is attracted to a woman. Note that some women will refer to themselves as lesbian or gay, or a mixture of both, and that's absolutely fine. It's up to that person and what they want to be known as. Bisexual is someone who can be attracted to more than one gender, e.g. men and women. Transgender. Now, transgender is completely different, guys, to lesbian, gay and bisexual. Those first three, the ones that I've just kind of spelled out to you, that's to do with being sexually attracted or being romantically attracted. Transgender's got nothing to do with who you are attracted to. Gender relates to if you're feeling male or female, or perhaps a combination of both. So transgender is a person whose gender identity is different from the sex that they were assigned at birth. So yeah, that's completely and utterly different from who you're attracted to. It's how you feel within yourself, with regards to feeling either male, female, or, as I said, a combination of both, which is sometimes known as being gender fluid. Now, heterosexual is going back to the sexuality part, about who you are romantically attracted to. Now, heterosexual is a man who is attracted to women, or it is a woman who is attracted to men. Now, sometimes, guys, when I do my walkabouts in the morning during mentor time, I might go into a mentor room and they go, oh, why are we learning about different sexualities again? And why do we learn about relationships so much? Reason being, guys, is that A, we have to by law. B, it's in the curriculum. And, you know, regardless of, you know, being a law and it's in the curriculum, it's really important that you have an understanding of different relationships. Now, some of you may identify as any of these that we have on our screen, and that is absolutely fine, guys. I think what's really important to be mindful of is that with regards to sexuality, it can change. So to think of a person just being a heterosexual or a person just being gay, research shows that that's not the correct way of thinking about it, because really sexuality is like a spectrum. For example, I had a good friend, thought she was a lesbian all of her life. I'm a lesbian, went to university, met a man, fell in love with a man, got married to him, had his baby. So she's now heterosexual. And especially during teenage years, it is normal for people to question their sexuality and their gender. But guys, it's absolutely normal to have those thoughts and feelings. So before, and we're going to kind of look at a timeline of laws and key moments in history, there was a time when we couldn't talk about this with you. We couldn't talk, you know, mention gay or lesbian at all. And that actually had some really detrimental impact on those people, because they might think, right, okay, I must only be a heterosexual, otherwise known as straight. I must be straight, I must be straight. They start to have these thoughts and feelings of, oh, well, maybe, you know, I'm a girl, but I fancy, you know, that girl. And then there was this guilt, this internal guilt and this internal shame, which then led to really bad mental health issues. As we know, guys, if you're feeling quite shameful of something and feeling guilty of something, these are not positive feelings or emotions, which can develop into more kind of severe mental health issues. So kind of looking at well-being and kind of social understanding and, you know, connecting with people, it is really, really important to just have an awareness of what it's all about, and to know that whatever your thoughts and feelings are, it's completely normal. Yes, and why do we have a plus after LGBT? Now, you may have recalled I went on a conference with the Pride group last year, and they are really pushing to actually have I added to it with a plus at the end, I standing for intersex. Now, intersex means when you are born with both female and male genitalia. And in that case, it's like, okay, if I've got a penis and a vagina, what do I then, you know, who am I? Am I male? Am I female? And again, that can be really, really difficult in some people. You know, I could only imagine how that must feel, and, you know, to spark all those negative emotions. So again, it's about just being really inclusive and recognising the diverse people that we have in our communities, because we're all different, you know, religion, race, whatever. And really, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, does it? As long as we're kind to one another. And I wanted to also include cisgender. So cisgender is the term for when your gender corresponds to your birth sex. For example, baby is born, has a vagina, therefore female, and grows up feeling female, and therefore stays with the sex which was assigned at birth. Vagina equals female. So we do have a majority of people being heterosexual and cisgender, and we do have a growing trend actually of people coming out as these other identities of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, but the predominant identity is heterosexual with cisgender at the moment. And yet, gender and sexuality are two different things, just to make that really clear. Okay, so we're now going to kind of see quickly how things have progressed through history. So we're going to look at 1967, 1969 and 1972. So 1967, if you look below it, we can see it's the Sexual Offences Act. What do you know about that? So it was basically made legal for a man to have sex with another man in 1967. So before that, guys, it was actually a crime for a man to have a relationship, to fall in love. And, I know it kind of says, decriminalise sex between two men over 21. Guys, if you've been in my sex education, it's not just about sex, it's about relationships and about being in love with somebody. And that's really what I want us to think about. So regardless of having sex, that doesn't matter. It's about the relationship that you have with that person. So before 1967, if you had fallen in love with somebody and it just happens to be a man and you're a man, it was a crime to be together. Yeah, you were locked up in prison. You could have chemical castration and electroshock therapy. These are operations on you which are completely inhumane and thank God illegal now. But before that, that was fine. That was fine to do. So 1967, this piece of legislation, the Sexual Offences Act, very, very, very important. It was really the beginning of seeing some sort of, the journey of equality for people. Now, 1969, if you look at the image above, you can see Stonewall means fight back. So 1969 is a very important year for the LGBT community because it was a Stonewall uprising in New York. It was when LGBT plus community rioted in defence against police brutality, led by transgender women of colour such as Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. So basically, guys, in New York, as I said, the police would go in and arrest people for loving and for falling in love with people that they were not supposed to. And when they were arrested, they weren't treated very nicely, I'm afraid. And this was the first time that the gay community kind of stood up for themselves and said, no, enough is enough. And this is completely unlawful. Okay, so then in 1972 was London's first Pride March in Islington, organised by the Gay Liberation Front, who were inspired by the civil rights and women's movements. So, guys, in the 60s, if you think back to Martin Luther King Jr., who obviously led the civil rights movements for African American citizens. All of this was going on. Then you had the women's rights and, really the second wave of feminism. People were standing up for themselves, saying, no, enough is enough. We need to be treated as equal. Now, as you know, guys, I'm so against bullying. I hate bullying in any shape or form. And this is why I'm really passionate about this. So this, even though we're looking at LGBT, it's the same for race. It's the same for religion. It's the same for gender. There's no need for it, is there? No need at all to be unkind. Okay, next one, 1988. So we're looking at the image from below here. Now, this is called something called Section 28. And this one makes me feel quite upset, really. So in 1988, the Prime Minister at the time, Margaret Thatcher of the Conservative Party, introduced this new law, Section 28, which bans schools from promoting homosexuality and their pretend family lifestyles, and effectively stops schools from supporting LGBT plus students and tackling homophobic, biphobic and transphobic bullying. So, guys, in 1988, it was made a crime for teachers to help students who had thoughts and feelings around their gender or sexuality. Now, for me, oh my goodness me, I'm always helping people. It could be someone's cat has died, or or no, someone's getting upset because they might not be able to do something. I'm always going to be there. And most of the staff, all of the staff, are at Ormiston Rivers. So for this, if I was living during this time, I'd find it extremely difficult as a teacher, because if I did try to help you, I could face being sacked, and that was the reality. And not only that, guys, you need to think, if you were a teacher who was a lesbian or gay or whatever, you were not allowed to be who you are. And again, if you're concealing your identity, you're concealing who you are, it's really, really going to have a detrimental impact upon you as a person. It could lead to depression, it can lead to stress, it can lead to anxiety. Now, as we are now in the year 2020, we are understanding these things. We're developing more of an awareness and really understanding the consequences of these actions. Okay, 1992, World Health Organization, they declassify same-sex attraction as a mental illness. So before 1992, guys, if you'd fallen in love with somebody of the same sex, you were seen to be mentally unwell, which meant that you could be kind of sectioned off into a mental health hospital and treated that you were unwell. Again, you know, my heart just breaks to think of, you know, falling in love with somebody. No, I'm due to get married this summer, but I'm not now. I'm getting married next summer to my fiance Alex, who is male. So I'm female, he is male, heterosexual couple. You know, if there was a law to say that I wasn't allowed to be with him, or you know, if I, you know, I was mentally unwell because I'd fallen in love with a man. You know, if we kind of flip the whole, the reverse, the sexualities around, you know, I'd be absolutely heartbroken. I can only imagine. Okay, and then in the year 2000, the UK government lifts the ban on lesbians, gay men and bi people serving in the armed forces. So again, before the year 2000, if you were gay and you were a soldier, you'd have to keep it quiet because you weren't allowed to be in the army. And in 2000, the age of consent is equalised to heterosexual couples to 16. So remember, before that, guys, it was the age 21 back in 1967. So now it's become equal between heterosexual couples and homosexual couples. So really, we are now seeing a real big improvement. I said the journey of progress for equal rights. Okay, 2002, let's find out. Equal rights are granted to same-sex couples applying for adoption. So this is wicked, guys. So now, of course, if you're a same-sex couple, you can now legally adopt a child. There are now 27,000 children living in same-sex families, and 1 in 7 adoptions in England and Wales are to a same-sex couple. Now, you really need to think to yourself, yeah, okay, I know there is an argument. What if the kid gets bullied at school for having, you know, 2 mums or 2 dads, you know, from a same-sex family? Well, my kind of reaction is, no, that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't take place. And if it does take place, we need to kind of raise awareness and educate around, you know, well, at least that child has a home. And surely 2 parents who are of the same sex are better than no parents, perhaps, or you know, and that is the argument that most people would make and take. So as long as the person, you know, you're in a happy, healthy home, what's the problem? What is the problem? Okay, 2003, we then saw Section 28 is repealed, whoop, whoop, which is why I can deliver this assembly to you today. And as a school, we can celebrate diversity that exists within our student body and staff team. So yeah, thank goodness. So 2003, guys, that's when I was at school. I was probably year 9 at that time. You know, so during my own schooling, my teachers were not allowed to talk about this at all until 2003. Okay, 2004, we've got 2 pieces of legislation here. The Civil Partnership Act was passed, giving same-sex couples the chance to access the same rights as married straight couples, but not as a marriage. That really kind of relates into the whole idea of a marriage. By definition is it was the legal union of a man and a woman. Now, the reason why it couldn't be seen as a marriage then was because of that definition. But recently they have changed the definition of marriage to include the legal union of a man and a woman, or a same-sex couple. So again, you know, it's just about progress and adapting. Next one, Gender Recognition Act allows trans people to legally recognise their gender. So the GRA is being debated at the moment, and the trans community is calling for reform to make the process less challenging and dehumanising. Yeah, so 2004, you can legally be known and recognised as the gender that you feel that you are if it doesn't correspond to the one that you were assigned at birth. And again, because before that, it's all about concealing who you are, which we know is not good. The Mental Health Foundation, National Organisation for Mental Health, this year their big campaign was Be Who You Are, and it was all about bringing your whole self to your work, or bringing your whole self to your family, your friendship groups, because we know that when you are allowed to be yourself, happiness, less stress, less depression, so there really is a big push in that from the mental health field. Okay, 2010, Equal Act. Now, guys, if you're in my religious studies class, I always bang on about the Equality Act of 2010. So that act is really important, not just for sexuality and gender, but also for race, for religion, disability, age. It really is the piece of legislation which says don't discriminate, don't hate, don't discriminate, just be kind. So it brings together anti-discrimination legislation to one act that includes gender reassignment as a protected characteristic. This is not only means protection from discrimination, but requires public sector bodies like schools to promote equality. Whoop, whoop, equality. 2013, equal marriage. Woo, so it gives same-sex couples the right to marry. Building upon what I said about the definition of marriage. Now, the future, what does the future hold? I'm hoping that we progress and we ensure that people are just treated with dignity. But however, we do know that homophobia, biphobia, transphobia still exists today, which is why we're learning about this, because May 17th of every year is International Day Against Homophobia. So let's look at some statistics. How many same-sex marriages were recorded in the UK the year after the equal marriage was won? Was it either 15,000 or 490? The answer is 15,000. So lots of people getting married. In 2017, the majority of gay men stated that they don't feel comfortable holding their partner's hand in public. Do you think this is true or false? Unfortunately, the answer is true. Think to yourself, why would that be? Being afraid, really, being afraid of how people might respond to you. Again, which is so sad. So sad. What percentage of transgender young people said they experienced name calling? 75%. Now, included within this, guys, the name calling, this kind of leads on to what this led on to. So 28% led on to physical attacks. 58% led on to self-harm, and 32% of students missed lessons due to discrimination or fear of discrimination. Again, it's just there's no need for it. The way that we can end this is by the way that we change our attitudes and our behaviour to just be kind and accepting towards people. In how many countries is same-sex marriage now legal? The answer is 27. Now, guys, okay, that's a really good number, but there are still lots of countries in the world where it is still illegal. It is still a crime. So those people, imagine living in those countries, you would want to move, wouldn't you? So we really need to make the world a safe place for everybody, not just certain countries. How many out LGBT athletes were there competing at the Rio Olympics 2016? Is it 34 or 56? And the answer is 56. Again, and that was the highest recorded. So they broke a record there, which is really good. How many openly gay men competed in the Russia World Cup 2018? 0. Now, within different sports teams, some teams are more kind of known for discrimination and homophobia more than others, and perhaps not from their teammates but from their supporters, which again, why? We can change that. What percentage of LGBT plus students experience bullying at school? And unfortunately, the answer is 45%. This has a clear impact on people's happiness and well-being, their attendance, their attainment, and we need to change this. Now, thanks to the hard work and bravery of those who have stood up for LGBT plus rights over the past 50 years since decriminalisation, we have made a huge leap towards reaching equality. However, as you can see from the quiz, there is more to be done. Okay, so we're now going to see three expressions or three statements that unfortunately are commonly said amongst teenagers. Um, I guess some of the adult community probably say them. However, I'm definitely not associated to anybody who would say these phrases. For, of course, the work that I do supporting LGBT rights for my students. So we've got that's so gay, you're so gay, and don't be so gay. Now, these are things that we are not to say, guys. These are homophobic statements. Now, unfortunately, they are said. We can see through statistical evidence of young people saying that they are told these things. You know, could be in the school corridors, could be in the playgrounds, could be over text or DMs or whatever. And it's really, really important, guys, that we understand that if you are saying these things, it is not okay. If you were in a workplace, in an office, for example, and you said, "Oh my God, that's so gay," you know, you'd be pulled in and you would have a very stern talking to, unfortunately. And if it continued, it could be actually that you lose your job. Now, of course, you know, different professions, different careers, different jobs have different kind of mentalities around discrimination. However, if you're going to go in a professional setting and you are heard to be saying these things, or you know, it could be that your boss is actually gay, or it could be that your boss has a you know, a son or a daughter, or you know, you just don't want to offend anybody. So it's really important, guys, that we're making the effort to never, ever, ever say these things. Now I'm going to share with you a video. I think it's a really great video. I'm going to try and not cry, because I watched this video before, you know, just double checking it was good to show you guys. And here it is. I don't know if I should share it with you via this, or I'll put the link on for this video actually. That I think that'll be better rather than you just see my face watching you watch it, because that will just be a bit weird. So I'll put the YouTube link after. It was a really, really good film. You know, in the first part, I want you to be thinking about, you know, how would that have made him feel? And basically the first part is this young boy at school, you know, silly boys are saying that, "Oh, you're so gay in the corridor." A girl kind of goes, "Oh, that's so gay," you know, and kind of seeing how he reacts to it. And then and no one says anything. Nobody kind of stands up to him or just tells the other person, "Hang on, you shouldn't really be saying that," because that's all that is all it takes. So if you have got a friend that kind of says this, all it takes for you is just to say, "You shouldn't be saying that. Come on, you're better than that. Think before you speak." And you'll get to see that in the second part of the video about how these homophobic remarks can actually be dealt with in a really kind of in a direct way, but a way that's not going to cause or lead to more arguments, because you know we don't want that. Okay, so what are the issues LGBT plus students face at our school? So I want you to have a good think about this, guys. Now, of course, we do have a pride group at school, and we have lots of members that join because they're not gay themselves. However, they feel passionately about the rights of other people. However, there has been a bit of like, if that person's joined Pride, well, that must mean that they're gay. And again, that really kind of shows a lack of understanding around why people would join Pride, or why people would actually be kind and stand up for other people who could actually be facing discrimination. So what can you do to make things better for LGBT plus people at our school? Now, we do celebrate Pride each year, and of course we do have the Pride Club, but it's just about being kind. It is all about being kind. And, you know, my mind goes back to the absolute tragic death of Caroline Flack. And even though it was nothing to do with being gay or anything, you know, the outpouring on social media was hashtag be kind, because unfortunately, like Caroline Flack, who's feeling victimized and really, you know, scrutinized as a person, which led to her death, that's unfortunately happens to LGBT plus people. You know, if they feel like they're being discriminated against, it does lead to self-harm. It can lead to suicide. And of course, you know, it's just, again, it's so pointless, because it's just up to us. It's up to us to be kind to the community and just watch what we say and how we behave. So we can be an active ally, which is what we are in Pride. So we can listen, learn and be supportive. We can challenge stereotypes, misconceptions and the misuse of language. Don't make assumptions about people. So kind of going back to the first activity around stereotypes. We can vocally embrace and celebrate difference, which is what the diversity showcase was all about last year. Why I'm always kind of waving a pride flag about. And to respect confidentiality as well. You know, so people, you know, it's their business. You know, if it's not going to harm anybody, if it's not going to harm you as a person, then why make comments about it? So you have the power to create change. Now, if you do need additional support, guys, for anything I've spoken about today, you can contact us on the wellbeing at ormstonriversacademy.co.uk email address. You can email any of your teachers. We're always here to help. If you want additional advice, Childline is absolutely fantastic. I love Childline. And I wanted to say a big thank you to Diversity Role Models for sharing this PowerPoint so I can share this with you. Lovely. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, come back to you, and that's me done. And as I said, if you need any help or advice, you know where we are, and we're always here to help you. Okay, have a wonderful week, have a lovely half term, and hopefully we'll get to see you soon. Bye.